Oh, have you ever heard of a Jollytologist? Well, this morning you're going to get to meet the world's one and only, AKA the ambassador of light, and I might add, of laughter, through his books and presentations and who he is at his very core. Funny, fun, supportive, and all of his humor is kind, never at the expense of other people. Alan Klein shows people worldwide how to use humor and positivity to deal with life's exigencies, from traffic jams to life's losses and tragedies. Alan Klein is the best selling author of the classic, The Healing Power of Humor. And I am in awe. He is the author of, there is that book, of over 30 books. He's a TEDx presenter on the power of intention. And he also wrote, very important, Embracing Life After Loss. And one of my favorite titles, You Can't Ruin My Day. That's a book we all need. And The Off Factor, which he'll be talking about today, which has been called one of the best spiritual books of the year. Comedian Jerry Lewis has said that Alan Klein is a, and I quote, noble and vital force watching over the human condition. Please welcome to the Golden Gate Breakfast Club award-winning author, speaker, our friend, Jollytologist Alan Klein.
Yay. I appreciate everyone's awe stories this morning. They were incredible. A lot of awe going on this morning with the little gremlins who are dealing with our PowerPoints and technical stuff. And I'm in awe of your team here at Golden Gate Breakfast Club. I rehearsed my PowerPoint last week. Everything went really well. This morning, nothing went well. I don't know what it is, but I could not show the PowerPoint. So Craig stepped in. I sent him the PowerPoint last minute, and he's going to help me with that. So thank you, Craig, and everyone else who helped me be here today. So I heard all your wonderful awe stories. I want to share a few of them with you. Years and years ago, I was in Yosemite. I was taking a hike up to Vernal Falls, and there are two paths, one going up, and near it was another one going down. And as I get near the top, someone on the other side going down, as I'm going up, calls over to me, Alan, Alan. And I look over, and I don't know who it is. I don't recognize the person. And he says, I'm John, remember me? He said, when you were a designer in summer stock, I was your apprentice 40 years ago. 40 years ago. And some people might say, well, that's a coincidence. For me, that was an awe moment. I mean, what did it take for us to be on top of a mountain in Yosemite at the same time? He could have been looking somewhere else, not seen me. All these things had to come together for that moment. And so for me, that was an awe moment. The second story I want to tell you is about my mom. She took her first plane ride when she was 82 years old. And I met her at the airport as she's coming off the plane. Then you can meet someone at the plane. You can't do that now. But I met her coming off the plane, and I said, Ma, how did you like the ride? How did you like your first plane ride? And she said, Alan, it was incredible. You could see the tops of the clouds. And I thought, another awe moment. That for her, that was an awe moment. For me, who has flown, and many of the speakers today, flown over 100,000 miles a year, tops of the clouds kind of get a little dated, but for her, that was an awe moment. And the third story I want to tell you is about a radio show I heard, and the reporter was interviewing three prisoners who were just getting out of prison. They have been in 10 to 20 years. And that day, three of them were getting out. The reporter was there, and he asked each one, what is it like? What are your hopes and dreams coming out of the prison? And one of them said, well, I am so looking forward to meeting and hugging my family. I have not seen them in so many years. And the second prisoner, when asked what he's looking forward to, said he's looking forward to going to a ball game. He said he really likes baseball and he hasn't seen a live game in, 10, 15 years. And the third one, and this is what surprised me for his kind of awe, what he's looking forward to moment, he said, I'm looking forward to opening the refrigerator. And I thought, what a strange thing. And then I thought, wait a minute, he hasn't opened the refrigerator for maybe 20 years. He could not get a glass of water or a glass of milk or an apple from the refrigerator. That was his awe moment. So I tell you all these three stories because the point is that often awe is in the eye of the beholder. For me, opening the refrigerator is not an awe moment. Tops of the clouds mostly is not an awe moment. Once in a while, they're incredible, but so it's in the eye of the beholder. It also takes all forms, shapes, and sizes. It's different, and it's also hard to define. So give you a little definition. The dictionary says awe is reverence mixed with fear and wonder. And I thought, fear? That, I usually don't associate uh, awe with fear. And then I thought back to my childhood, and you may have experienced this too. When there was lightning and thunder, kind of awe moments, I would be scared stiff. I would run under the blanket, hide under the blanket. So yes, there was fear. The researchers, another definition, the researchers, and I'll read what they say awe is. Awe is the feeling we get in the presence of something so vast that challenges our understanding of the world. Something so vast, like the Grand Canyon. Can we have that slide, Craig? Craig, are you there? No, not that one. That one, yay. Um, Also, if we can do full screen, that would be good. But if this is your full screen, I'm happy with that. So look at how small that person is in the sense of the Grand Canyon. And it changes when you see that, it changes your whole perception of who you are and who you are in the world. And that's why that's awesome. Okay, you can take this off, Craig. But I have a different definition from those from the dictionary and from the researchers. Mine is real. I like to keep things simple. So mine is awe is a moment when something takes your breath away, or something knocks your socks off, or when you get goosebumps, or when you go, oh my God. You've probably experienced an awe moment at those times. But I have a very simple definition of awe. It's an acronym, AWE. I came up with a wow experience. Like at this time of year, Christmas time, you may see an incredible tree, as Susan talked about the one at the Fairmont Hotel, and you might go, wow. Or the lights in someone's house. Wow. I saw one house recently while driving, and it was lined with huge candy canes all lit up. And I went, wow. So it's like a surprise. It's a wow experience, AWE. So if awe is changes our view of the world, why is it important? Well, it's amazing because awe, you probably haven't heard much about it 10, 15 years ago. The research is just beginning in a sense, but new research is coming out almost every other month. So I just want to give you some ideas of why it's important. And the leading awe researcher is Dacher Keltner. He's in Berkeley, right across the bridge from where I am here in San Francisco. And he's part of the Greater Good Science Center in Berkeley. And you can look them up and read lots and lots of articles about the new research on awe. So why is awe important? Because it connects us to others. and you're more compassionate. This is part of the research. We would take a whole hour to actually go into all of this, but just highlighting. And I remember the I was in Hawaii, and at sunset, people go to the beach and look for a green flash when the sun goes down. And I remember people connected, like even days where there's no green flash, you turn to someone else and go, did you ever see a green flash? When did you see it? What was it like? And you start connect. And then when there was one, that was amazing. People just, connected real easily to other people. So it kind of takes when you see something awe, it takes your self away from yourself. It takes your attention, directs your attention away from yourself to something else. And you become more compassionate, according to the research. It also sparks curiosity. We start to ask questions and thus creativity. And it also reduces, this is amazing, folks, that this research found that awe reduces inflation. I'm sorry, not inflation. Sorry, inflammation. Oh, well, I'm a jollytologist. I laugh at my own stupidity or whatever, mistakes. Anyhow, it reduces inflammation. But the research that I came out 2 years ago, I really found amazing, and it's so simple for any of us to do. And it was to take an awe walk. And they asked 52 people, mostly ages 60 to 80, to go out in nature and take an awe walk. And they divided the group in half, 26 people each. And one group, they just say, go in nature, take a walk and, see what happens. The other, they instructed to find something that awed them, to maybe take a photo of it, to write down their experience of it. And what they found is that those people who were not instructed to find Oz, said they were thinking about like maybe a trip they were taking and they got stressed out because they hadn't packed yet or bought stuff they needed for the trip. So they were stressed out. But those people that were instructed to find some awe said that they felt less negative emotion, more positive emotion, and that they were much happier. So, and all it was a 15-minute walk, and the study was for 8 weeks. So I encourage you every day, or even, no, they did it once a week for 20 minutes to take an all walk. So there are two generators basically of awe. The number one is nature, is the number one generator of awe. And I have 3 slides, Craig. I want to show sun rises, sunset. Next slide. And other nature scenes. And when I saw this is an actual place that you can do this in Scandinavia. I forget what country, but when I saw this, my stomach dropped when I first saw this photo, and I realized there was that fear connected with awe. Thank you, Craig. So there's also man-made awe. Anyone, by show of hands, seen Cirque du Soleil? Every time I see a Cirque du Soleil show, there is awe. In fact, many times during the show. If you've seen Curios, that was my favorite. It's a steampunk, kind of industrial kind of look. And they have a woman in it who is 3 feet 2 inches tall, full features, looks just like a person, but my stomach dropped. I really got a sense of, oh my God, wow moment when I saw her, because she came out somebody was wearing like a diver's suit, and she was like in the pocket in the front of it. And I thought it was a mechanical doll. And then he took her out and put her on the stage, and she walked around, she sang, and she danced. And I thought, I couldn't believe, because was so small with just so perfect features. Space travel, also man-made. Do you know there are 10 people living in space right now who are gardening, who are watching movies? Is that not awesome? For me, that is. And then what about skyscrapers? Those of you that live here in San Francisco know we have the Salesforce Tower. Amazing tall building. I've been on the top of it. If you can get a chance, do that. The view is mind-boggling. Um, but it's 1,072 feet tall. That's not that tall compared to a building in Dubai, which is more than double that at 2,717 feet. And that was all man-made, um, constructed. So if ore is so important to us, if we can get it man-made or we can get it from nature, the number one generator, how do we get more of it into our life? So I have three, there are more than three in my book, The Awe Factor, I talk about that, but just three today. One of them is intention, and Susan did say my TED Talk is about the power of intention. I truly believe in that. So I had a lesson in that. I did a class called Wonder Hunt, and every week we were told to go out and look for some clue, something. So one week was to find everything that is heart-shaped. And I took my dog out for a walk and I came back and I realized I had planted morning glories around my front gate. I had not noticed that all the leaves were heart-shaped. And I walk my dog 3 times a day, every day, and I had not noticed it. Once I put my intention out to find heart-shaped things, they appeared. Um, so let me see how what time we have. Oh, good. So when I had many books published by a division of Random House, and then I think there was 7 books, and then they closed that division to save money. They were cutting back. And so I had tried to sell these books for a year and a half, and I could not sell them. And so I made up this card because I believe in the power of intention that, let's see, hello. Well, it's blurry. There we go. The perfect publisher will find me. And I let go of looking for a publisher. And I just, every day, I looked at that card and said to myself, the perfect publisher will find me. My intention, right? And I went to this meeting of book publicists, people who not publish, but promote books. And I sat down on the aisle seat, and the man next to me was turned around talking to 2 women. And I heard them say, we have a very successful publishing company. We're opening a new division, and we're looking for inspiring, uplifting, motivational books. And I turned around and I said, I have 7 of them. And they said, here's our card. Send the books to us. And I looked at the card, and this was the first awe moment. They were about 5 blocks from where I lived. So I took the books to them the next day, and they did publish about 5 of those. And they got too big for their little office right near me, and they moved to a bigger office. They had a big party, and I walked in. Second awe moment, this woman comes over to me and she says, thank you for being with this company. I own this company. You do not know me because I live in London. She said, but I know you. And I said, how do you know me? She said, for 11 years, I used to live across the street from you, and I'd see you walk your dog every single day. The second awe moment, power of intention. So another thing I do today, the power of intention, when I go out, I keep finding and I look for faces in odd places. For example, Craig, some slides. So here's even in my house, this is my rice cooker. Okay, next slide. Next slide, Craig. We've had enough of the rice cooker. Can you advance the slide, Craig? Come in, Craig. What happened? Oh, well. Greg, can you tell me whether you can show the slides anymore or not? See those gremlins? I don't, you know what? They're probably getting all those Christmas gifts wrapped and they don't have time for PowerPoint. Um,
Let me try this again. Bear with me.
okay. Once more with feeling. Oh, here's the next one. So I was in Macy's and they had this display and there was a face on the luggage. Next slide, please. And even my morning eggs have a face. And now people know that I look for faces in odd places. They've been sending me pictures of. So next slide, please. So here's a building with a face. Next slide. Another building with a face. And next slide. Someone even sent me a picture of their mop, which kind of looks like something from Lion King, I think. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Greg. So the one is intention. Set your intention to find some awe in your life. If not once a day, then at least once a week. Second is be curious. Grow down. Be like a child. Um, Zen tells us to have a beginner's mind to everything. And then you start to see the wonder, the amazement. You know how kids, if they get a gift, sometimes the box is more awesome to them than the gift itself, than the toy itself. So have a beginner's mind. I remember I was in a cafe once and I had a golden retriever with a big fluffy tail and this little, I don't know how old he was, year and a half maybe. The tail was the most awesome thing I'd ever seen at that point. If it brushed his nose when it went by, he would get hysterical. He would try to reach it, and of course the dog would run away, and he would be laughing hysterically, all from a dog's tail. So grow down, be curious. You'll find more all when you do. The third is to look and look closer. Several years ago, I was in Amsterdam and we went to the Keukenhof Gardens. That's not the quite right name, I think. But some of you may have been there. And they have 7 million bulbs planted, most of them tulips. And I was just amazed. So here are some slides to illustrate what I'm talking about. So there's a picture I took there. But what was awesome to me is when I look closer, next slide, and I found these are called Rembrandt tulips. But what was even more awesome is when I looked inside these tulips. Next slide, please. I never expected this yellow with the bright red flashing out. So it awed me. So next slide, please. Wondering if you can guess what this is. We're talking about looking and looking closer. Anyone know what this is? This is a very fine magnified view of a cut in half pine needle. Amazing, awesome. Next slide, please. Anyone guess what this is? This is sand magnified 300 times. Okay, Greg, thank you. So let me ask you this. What if I said that we've talked about, and I've showed you slides of some awesome things. What if I said that the most awesome thing was right where you are seated? Right where you are. That you are the most awesome thing. I mean, imagine your body. The fact that I'm talking to you, the fact, and that technology is also awesome. But the fact that I'm talking to you, I could hear you with the hearing aid. Amazing. That I could see you with glasses. But the blood running through you, the breath, in breath, out breath, all these amazing things so if you had breakfast this morning, what is it doing? How is it nourishing your body? I mean, just amazing. We did have a video to show you, but the gremlins took it away. So I'm just we're all kind of a living miracle, walking living miracle. And if you can find any awe in your day, just think of your body. It's just amazing. We're going through a period still of COVID. I have a house guest who came down with COVID this week, and I'm sure he would be much sick. He's quarantined in the guest room. Um, he's quarantined and he's had, full injections, so it's fairly mild. So medicine, it's a miracle. I thought I had COVID this week. I'm perfectly fine now. I think it's because I'm fully vaccinated. So modern medicine, you can't tell, I can't tell. I have 2 tubes in my eyes to help with draining my glaucoma. Otherwise, I'd go blind. If that's not awesome, I don't know what is. So think about all your medical things and how modern medicine is so, so incredible. So we're all a living miracle, and there's a Broadway show. I love Broadway shows, as Fripp and Susan know, and we've even met at a Broadway show once on Broadway. We were both in the same audience. But one of the shows I like a lot is Flower Drum Song. And there's a song in it called 100 Million Miracles. And it's a wonderful song. And I just want to read you I'm not going to sing it because you don't want to hear my singing voice. But I'll read you the lyrics because they're really beautiful. So this is called Miracle of Making Music. When an idle poet puts words on a page, writes on a page with his brush, a musical friend writes the notes to blend, suggested by an idle thrush. Then a young soprano reads what they wrote, learns every note, every word, puts all they wrote in a lovely throat, and suddenly a song is heard. So there are miracles all around. Those of you that are writers, authors, all that creativity, is that not a miracle that comes into you that you put on a page, that you share with people, that you change people's lives? Certainly an awesome miracle. Just want to see what time. Okay, I have a little time left. So, I wrote my first book, The Healing Power of Humor, and my last book was The Awe Factor, which we're talking about today. And this year, I was the closing keynote speaker at the Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor Conference. And I had this crazy idea to put humor and awe together and see if there was any connection. And this is weird because I put in a proposal, not knowing if there was, but trusting, intention, trusting that I can come up with an hour's keynote speech about both. And I did. I found lots of connections, and I just, in closing time and then one closing statement, want to share with you because I found this really fascinating, the connection between awe and humor. So the first is that it fosters connection. When we laugh together, how often do you turn to someone else when you laugh together when you hear a joke? My joke would be, what do you call a line of rabbits walking backwards? A receding hairline. See why I like that joke? But again, the connection I talked about on the green flash in Hawaii, it connects people. Both humor and awe connect people. The second is it provides perspective. being in Yosemite or Grand Canyon, as I showed you, it just changes your perspective of the world. And so does humor. In my humor workshops, I often illustrate that with this story about a young woman who was at school and wrote this letter to her parents. Dear Mom and Dad, I'm sorry I haven't written, but all my stationery was destroyed when the dorm burnt down. I'm out of the hospital and the doctor said I'll be fully recovered soon. Most of my things were destroyed in the fire, but I want you to know I moved in with a boyfriend and I'm now pregnant. And then there was a PS. PS, there was no fire. My health is perfectly fine. But I did get a D in French and English, and I just wanted to make sure you kept it all in perspective. So humor gives us perspective, awe gives us perspective. And the other is both support our well-being. When we have a hearty laugh, we cough, we get congestion up. It's good for that. Our blood pressure goes up. Take a good breath of air in. It helps our well-being. And the all walk that I talked about, things like that, that also helps our well-being. So both humor is helpful and awe is helpful. You should get both of them in your life. And so I want to quote today, and then I'd love to hear questions. Last quote is by Einstein. There are two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle. Thank you. Thank you, Craig.
Alan, that was absolutely wonderful, and seeing you laugh, I was laughing hysterically as well. It is so catching, which is why when we speak, it's good to have our audience members close together because laughter is so contagious. Absolutely wonderful. Janelle, I don't really watch the chat because I'm so engaged with our speakers, but I saw you had a nice comment. Would you like to unmute and deliver your comment to Alan?
There we go.
There.
I have I have three computers on my desk. Hi, Alan. And the little cursor goes, I sometimes don't know where it is, so I have to find it to get back to the computer I'm on. Alan, I just remember you when I was living in San Francisco, where I lived until 2001. Moved to Las Vegas right before 9/11. I always remember you as being so incredibly authentic, and you haven't lost a tiny, tiny bit of it. And that's what makes your words so awesome, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I think what I tried to do is share with my audiences stuff from my life, because I know things we go through often other people are going through it also. And so I try to have examples that are simple that people can relate to, and things that I've been through because I know they work. You know, and they work for me. If they work for me, I know they're probably going to work for other people. So thank you, Janelle. Yeah, great seeing you again. It's been many, many years.
And the line that I use with my clients is, what is deeply personal is also universal, which is why that approach works so well, as you've obviously found. Janice Litvin. Now, it's amazing how many past presidents of the National Speakers Association Northern California we have here. Our most recent, Janice Litvin.
Alan, first of all, your reputation precedes you. As you know, we sat together with Patricia and Susan at Craig's Harrison event at the Claremont. But right. Craig has been talking before that. Harrison had been talking to me about you for years.
Oh, wow.
about the person to follow. But what I wanted to respond to was about this concept of awe. In my world of well-being and burnout, awe is a huge factor in reducing burnout. And there I am experiencing
Oh,
some
right.
awe in southern Utah about a month ago. And for a week, I experienced this awe and did focus, like you mentioned in the research study, I did focus on the experience of awe. And every day when I would take my first step out on my walk, my heart was filled with joy, and I could actually feel the physical feeling of the awe and the joy.
Yeah. Yes, Janice. And what you just said, there is a study that finding more awe, seeing awe reduces stress.
Yes,
So
yes.
reduces stress, reduces burnout. Yep.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure. It's such a joy. I'm getting up in years, 85. So I don't do a lot of personal speaking, but I do things like this on the internet. Thank God for the internet. We can still share our joy with other people.
Can I say something?
Susan Rowan?
Given the season, hearing you talk about awe, the relation to humor and joy is just perfect. And I know I've said this before. If we don't have people in our life who say, "Oh wow," when they hear us say things, we're missing out. But by the same token, we need to be the people who say, "Oh wow," when someone does something, because somehow that just creates good vibes. I remember when the term, Alan, everything's so awesome, and I was really wanting to strangle people after they would say it. I thought that wasn't a good idea, but now you've given me a really good perspective, because if people think something is awesome, it's not my job to say, "Nah, that's not that's." It's awesome to them. Why you see me here rather than in my office with all my books is because I am looking out across here in Marin, across the mountains of Marin, with houses that look like I'm in Switzerland.
Huh.
And I'm seeing trees, etc. It goes back to what I said before, the other speaker we had. I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. So I think we need to have people in our life and in our networks who share that. But I'll give you one more, and Alan, you can tell me if I'm on the right track. One of the women who wrote about politics and business, and we all know that I'm all about that, Marilyn Motes Kennedy, wrote How to Find a Mentor. And her number one trait was find someone with whom you laugh. Shared humor binds us to people. And we know that because when we make a baby laugh, don't we feel like we are fabulous? And I think that those of us who can find humor and give others the gift of a giggle are very special. And you've done that. And I love you for that. And I love Flower Drum Song too.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. And you said it looks like Switzerland, but I guess without the snow.
That's what makes it awesome.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but people, all my relationships, I fire my doctors if I cannot at least smile, chuckle with them once in a while, I fire them. Because I think that's part of my healing. I don't want to go to a doctor who is morose or tells me about patients who have had this who have died the next week. I mean, that is not going to help me, not going to help me heal. So
the Miss Barbicinus.
Is what?
Remember, what's his name? I'm just going to forget. Austin Powers, the Miss Barbicinus, the sour pusses. She was.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, Susan Rowan and I were there.
Oh.
The power of awe really at your 80th birthday party celebration. Will you
85th.
tell everybody what that was and what it took to put it together?
Yeah, I have the program right here. I have to get up and get it. So,
Alright.
so in San Francisco, I go to a nightclub called Feinstein's at the Nico, and they have these incredible Broadway stars. And it's intimate. It only holds 120 people. It's not like a big Broadway theater. And at the end, they often come out and you get to shake hands and take photos with them. And I grew up on Broadway. I went to my first Broadway show when I was 7 years old. And throughout high school, I saw every show on Broadway, including Hello Dolly on opening night and other shows. I saw one show that opened and closed on the same night. I've seen on Broadway, seen scenery fall, actors forget their lines. It's live theater. That's what I love, the liveness about it. A movie can do anything, but live theater. So I go there a lot, and I'm sitting there watching a couple of times, watching the entertainers. I'm thinking, my 85th birthday is coming up. Wouldn't it be great to have a show right here on the stage of Feinstein's? And so I put together an hour musical of how Broadway songs have influenced my life. And I hired several musicians and a pianist, and I hired the club, and it's called Feinstein's at the Nico. And so I changed the sign. I don't have it to show you, but you can imagine. I changed the sign to Kleinstein's at the Nico. And that was my hour. And I even did a playbill. I don't know why this doesn't, there's a magic, well, anyhow. And it was just wilder and better than I ever imagined. Just one example, and the woman, Misa Malone, used to be one of the stars of Beach Blanket Babylon, and she was my music director, and her ideas was just so fabulous. So at the end, the last song is I Will Survive, and she turned it into he's 85, he will survive. Or he's still alive. So there was lots of laughter. There was one person doing opera out of the audience. Lots of fun, lots of my stories. And I was so pleased that both Fripp and Roanne were there, as were many other of my good friends. So thank you for mentioning that, Fripp. By the way, I guess what relation to awe, you can create your own awe moments. I created my own awe moment. And I try to do that for major birthdays. I once had a high tea, a Alice in Wonderland high tea at the Ritz-Carlton for one of my birthdays. I had a disco party at a club for my 70th birthday. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do for 95? And I thought, I know the food. I don't know what I'll do, but the food will be strained and pureed.
Well, we certainly hope we're on the mail list, don't we, Roanne? Yeah, good. Perfect. Do we have any other questions of Alan? Let's see.
I have a question.
Yes.
Alan, what is your best advice for learning how to be more humorously engaging as a business speaker on stage?
I think Fripp would agree with me. Do not open with a joke unless you're a really good joke teller and it relates to what you're going to talk about.
Right.
I've seen speakers do that and it just doesn't fit. It doesn't work. It's not great. I would open with doesn't have to be fall down laughter, but some humorous story from your own life. If you're
Mhm.
talking about something, you've had experience with that. And if you've had experience with that, surely over the years, you probably have years of experience. Surely there was some humorous thing that happened that you could share with the audience. And maybe it's not a huge laugh, but it gets it starting on a light note.
That's great advice. I did sign up for a comedy writing workshop from Second City online that will be starting in January. So I can be funny on stage, but I want to be better at it. So thank you for that advice. That's brilliant advice.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
And Doug, I'm glad you joined us from Southern California. You came in after we did the announcements, but good to see you. And let's see, are there any other burning questions of Alan?
Yeah, Ellen, let me ask you. I'm a big fan of irony and juxtaposition and sadly great puns. But tell me, there is something that I've learned from the late, great Dawn Bernhardt, my speech coach. I have done humor that is, when you tell a story, it's on you, not on other people. But she once said, be very careful about making yourself the person that is the butt of the joke or whatever. She said self-deprecation in too many instances can turn into the audience thinking, "Oh, she's right. Why am I listening to her?" So tell me how you see humor on yourself as part of the humor when we tell a story or even a presentation.
Yeah, I think deprecation humor is valuable, but be really careful of overusing it. Because yeah, then and some famous comedians have done that over and over and they're successful at it, but it's a fine line, as any humor is. Um, I tell people I'm a former expert in how to cure baldness. Former expert. But that may be the only line I will use in my, say, 45-minute talk to deprecation, put myself down. So it could be overdone. I totally agree. Be careful. With any humor, be careful. You never know who's in your audience. You never know who you're offending. It's safest to have the humor on yourself, but again, if you go over the line and too much of it, then your coach is right. The audience could turn on you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tony, you put a note in about Tana Hope's subject as she is the next speaker. Would you like to share with everybody?
Sure. Tana is a private pilot. She loves flying. She belongs to a flying club in Bellingham, Washington, and flies around the Northwest quite frequently. She misses our meetings because it's a great flying day, and she'll be out flying around. So she's going to be talking about her flights around the Northwest. Again, we don't have a title yet, but I expect we will see some amazing scenes and photos from high above, the Northwest.
All right, good. Thank you. All right. Do we have any other burning questions about or any topic that Alan can answer a question on?
Griff, while we're waiting for
Yes.
I'd like to just share this. AI is the new big thing, right? And we're all
Yes.
going to have to deal with that. So I just, when I did the humor and awe program recently, the keynote, I thought I'm going to ask AI what they thought about it, right? So they came up with this. I asked for I guess a kind of a poem, the connection between humor and awe. And they wrote, do you say AI wrote? I don't know what they created.
Well, as someone from the Professional Speechwriters Association wrote, why would we read something that nobody has written?
Oh, so you don't want me to read this?
No, I do. I do. I was just giving you time to collect your thoughts.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, I thought it was amusing. So, humor and awe, a curious pair. At first glance, seem beyond compare. But in their depths, a bond is found that echoes with a joyful sound. Humor, with its light-hearted jest, can ease the soul and soothe the crest, and soothe the chest, I guess. While awe, with wonder and surprise, can lift the spirit to new highs. So let us cherish both in kind and see the world with open mind. For humor and awe, a wondrous blend, can make life brighter in the end.
Oh,
Not
Yeah,
bad, huh?
yeah,
Very
not bad at all.
high.
Well, as you find with AI, now, as we're on the subject of AI, Janelle, you just sent me a link about what you consider one of the best programs you heard. Are there any comments from that you want to add to the group getting ready for our January program on AI? Now we have to hear you, Janelle. Find which computer your mouse is on. I know the issue. I only have two computers here and often can't find it.
Thank you. Yes, and then the speaker on that, I forget his name now. You probably know for because he's in the NSA, CPAE.
Yes, wasn't it? It wasn't Bruce Turkle. It was. I know. Yeah.
Okay, anyway, Bruce Turkle introduced him, and it was the first time that I had heard him. And the thing that I liked so much about his presentation, I don't know if it's a good idea to send that around to everybody, because I wasn't given permission to do that. But
Oh no, which I would not.
but it was the best AI speech that I've ever heard. And the thing that made it so good was that there were so many pieces about AI that I had never thought of or heard of before. And because now at this point, when you invite somebody to speak about AI, they're beginning to talk about the same things. But this guy was really plowing new ground. And one of the things he said, and Fripp, you told me that you've heard this before. He said, AI will not take your job. It won't eliminate your job. But if you're not using AI, you're not going to have a job.
Yeah.
It's a pretty profound statement if you think about it, that especially as some of us are getting older. I had my 80th birthday this year, and I'm aware that I really have to work at learning things now. I'm recovering my piano skills. I actually thought about being a concert pianist when I was young, and then I let it go. And now I'm back working on that, and it's harder for me to remember the music. It's harder for me to get it's very complicated music, classical music, down just right. But so I think that with AI, those of us who are a little bit older are going to have to work at it a bit more. It seems to be pretty natural for young people. But Fripp, can I just ask Alan to comment on something? Alan, I when I was little growing up, I never had much respect from my mother. I'm not sure why that was, but that was it. And as I've grown older, and she's dead now, I am discovering the awesomeness in my mother. And I'm wondering, there must be an exercise around that, or it must be something that a lot of people go through who have problems relating to a parent when they were younger, and then they get older and they find out, my gosh, they produced me, I'm awesome. So they must be pretty awesome themselves.
Actually, I always had trouble with my father. My mom was really positive all the time, and I got my humor from her. She was always joking. Even in the long-term care that she was in before she died, she didn't like the food and the chicken soup. She was a little outrageous, and she'd call the chef over and say something like, my urine is more yellow than this chicken soup. So, but my dad was very, very serious. I mean, he would park the car a half a mile away so nobody in a parking lot, so no one would scratch it. And I always was he always saw the glass as half empty, and that always annoyed me particularly as a teenager. I even once stormed out of a Chinese restaurant as a teenager because he would not order something different from the menu. It always had to be the same thing. So he was always very, very negative. And after he died, Janelle, I realized who I am today is a lot because of him, because I always did the opposite of what he would do. So if he was very negative, I would be very positive. And so I am so grateful, kind of a weird thing. And I have a thing going now to be grateful for the not so grateful things in your life, because those are our greatest teachers. So I am so grateful for his negativity because it turned me into the positive person I am today. It sounds so weird, but I wonder if you exercise or whatever you want to call it, just think of what were the things your mom did that are made you who you are today in a positive way, in a
Yeah.
good way.
And I have
What
a feeling that your father was negative in some ways in order to survive in his life, and that's awesome. I don't
That's
know if you,
awesome too. Yes. See, so there, if we look deeper into that, what were those things about them that have somehow helped them or enriched our life? I think you might start seeing her influence on your life in a different way.
you need to have a seminar on that.
Oh dear, not another, not another one.
Alan, I have a question. Like
Yeah.
Nolte, you remind me a little of Carl Nolte, the Chronicle writer, in that he's always coming up with interesting places to visit in the city and surrounding areas. And sounds like you do a lot of interesting walking and hikes. What are some of your favorite places to walk in the city?
In the city. Well, I live near Buena Vista Park.
Okay.
So, and I also live near oh, I can't remember the name of it, another park. But Buena Vista, you can go way to the top of the hill and you see the whole city from there. It's really magnificent. Just I love walking in my neighborhood. I was walking the other day and there's a store closed and it's boarded up with plywood, and somebody probably put, I don't know, 400 rubber duckies nailed to the wall in a pattern. Um, suddenly it was there, and I hadn't just looking again, just open your eyes and seeing. I love seeing patterns on the sidewalk that are made by dirt or puddles or somebody dropped sometimes I took a photo of a garbage can. It had all, God, this is you're gonna think I'm really weird, but it was doggy bags that people had left from their dogs' droppings, but the bags were all different colors, green, red, blue, purple. And seems weird, but it was like a sculpture or painting with all these color things coming out of the garbage can. So just look around you doesn't matter where you go. You don't have to go to Europe, to find amazing streets or sites or buildings.
Yeah, I live a couple blocks from Mount Davidson, and it's amazing. You feel like you're out in the wilderness, just right in the middle of the city here.
Right.
Yeah.
And particularly now, it's like the season, for me, it's like the season of awe because people's decorations and the lights, you don't see that during the rest of the year. So just walking in any neighborhood, you'll probably find people that have put lights up and what they look like.
Yeah. Ellen.
Well, I enjoyed your talk very much. I have to excuse myself. Great, thanks.
Hi, Mike.
Thank you.
Ellen, I don't know if you know, because I didn't know till just now, but someone who loves and adores you has been on this call the entire time, but probably I haven't seen her, but she's there, and that is Leslie Charles from Michigan.
God. Are you there, Leslie? Is she her picture?
The picture isn't there, but Leslie's been on. I just saw her
Oh
name.
my God, Leslie, I love you. Thank you. Yeah, I haven't
Well,
seen you in years. Yeah.
thank you very much, Alan. That was wonderful. We all loved it. You got fans, you've got new fans. And Craig, I don't know what we would do without you jumping in at the last minute, working behind the scenes. And remember, everybody, 27th of December, no meeting. 3rd of January, no meeting. Tana Hope will tell us about flying around and more awe that she sees in her flying that she will share with us. Thank you, Janelle, for applying to be a member. I am fairly confident we will accept you. Thank you, everyone's constant contributions to our meeting. And remember, if somebody wants to, if we find someone who's a great speaker, are they comfortable with Zoom? Tom Drews is. We let the program committee, which is Susan and Anastasia, know. So I will put this in an email, Roanne, just to keep it official. And our dentist is still there, all masked up, ready for work. Craig, Tony had to leave. And do you have any final or concluding comments before we wave goodbye to Alan with his red nose?
Well, I'd just like to say thank you again to Alan for such a fantastic presentation. And it was, I took like 20 pages of notes, by the way. So much great content. And thank you for sharing your wisdom today.
Thank you, Craig. And thank you for your PowerPoint help.
All right, and if we can close the recording, and happy holiday season, everyone. See you in 2024.
Merry Christmas.
Merry